Have you ever noticed that before a leader says a single word, people have already formed an opinion? It happens in job interviews, business meetings, classrooms, airports, shopping malls, and even on an ordinary sidewalk. Two people enter the same room wearing similar clothes, carrying similar experience, and possessing similar intelligence, yet one immediately attracts attention while the other blends into the background. What creates that difference? Is it confidence? Charisma? Appearance? Surprisingly, one of the strongest signals of leadership begins with something so ordinary that most people never think about it. It's the way they walk. Long before your voice introduces you, your walk tells a story. It quietly communicates whether you are uncertain or decisive, overwhelmed or composed, following the crowd or capable of leading it. Every step sends a message, and the remarkable part is that most of those messages are completely unconscious. Think back to a moment when you saw someone walking through a busy office, across an airport terminal, or into a conference room. Without knowing anything about them, you probably made instant assumptions. You may have thought they looked successful, stressed, approachable, disciplined, or confident. You didn't analyze their resume. You didn't hear their opinions. Your brain simply interpreted hundreds of tiny signals in seconds. This is not a flaw in human thinking. It is a survival mechanism that has existed for thousands of years. Long before modern society, our ancestors needed to judge strangers quickly. Was this person a threat? Could they be trusted? Did they know where they were going? Even today, your brain continues making those rapid assessments. That's why leadership is often communicated before it is spoken. Many people believe leadership begins when they receive a title. They imagine confidence will magically appear after becoming a manager, director, entrepreneur, or CEO. But reality often works in the opposite direction. People tend to give opportunities to those who already project leadership qualities. Promotions, responsibilities, and influence frequently follow perception. This doesn't mean pretending to be someone you're not. It means understanding that your body constantly communicates your mindset. Your walk becomes a moving reflection of your internal state. If your mind is uncertain, your body often reveals it. If your thoughts are focused and calm, your movements naturally become more purposeful. The encouraging news is that this relationship works both ways. Just as your thoughts influence your posture can influence your thoughts. Psychologists call this embodied cognition, a fascinating idea suggesting that the body and mind continuously affect one another. Imagine smiling even when you're having an average day. Within moments, many people notice a slight improvement in mood. Likewise, think about what happens when you slump into a chair with your shoulders rounded, your head lowered, and your breathing shallow. Your energy often decreases without you realizing why. Walking follows the same principle. A purposeful walk doesn't simply communicate confidence to others, it gradually teaches your own brain to experience greater confidence. Every deliberate step becomes feedback telling your nervous system, I am safe. I know where I'm going. I can handle what comes next. Consider the difference between someone rushing anxiously through a hallway while staring at the floor and someone walking with a relaxed but intentional pace, eyes forward, shoulders open, and movements under control. Which person would you instinctively trust to lead an important project? The second person hasn't spoken a single word, yet something about their presence feels reassuring. That's because humans naturally associate calm movement with competence. We unconsciously believe that people who appear composed are more capable of handling uncertainty. This explains why experienced leaders rarely seem hurried, even when their schedules are incredibly demanding. They understand that panic spreads quickly, but calm spreads just as easily. Imagine a hospital during an emergency. Nurses, doctors, and patients constantly watch the behavior of experienced physicians. If the senior doctor runs through the hallway shouting in panic, everyone else's anxiety immediately increases. But if that doctor walks quickly while remaining composed, giving clear instructions without appearing overwhelmed, confidence spreads throughout the team. The medical situation may be equally serious in both cases, yet the emotional atmosphere becomes completely different. Leadership is often emotional regulation made visible. The way you move tells people how they should feel about the situation around them. This principle extends far beyond emergencies. Think about entering a meeting where everyone seems uncertain about the future of an important project. Most people unconsciously begin looking for emotional direction. They observe facial expressions, posture, and movement long before evaluating spoken ideas. A leader who enters the room with steady, balanced movements quietly communicates stability. It isn't about acting important. It is about becoming a source of calm when uncertainty exists. In psychology, emotions are remarkably contagious. We constantly mirror one another without realizing it. If someone yawns, others often yawn. If someone laughs genuinely, smiles begin spreading across the room. Confidence behaves in much the same way. One of the biggest mistakes people make is confusing speed with purpose. They assume walking faster automatically makes them appear productive and ambitious. Sometimes speed is necessary, but constant rushing often communicates something entirely different. It can suggest stress, disorganization, or the feeling that you're always reacting rather than leading. Think about experienced airline pilots walking through an airport. They are rarely wandering aimlessly, but they also aren't sprinting from gate to gate in panic. Their pace reflects intention. Every movement has direction. Leadership isn't about moving fast. It's about moving with purpose. Purpose begins with knowing where you're going, both physically and mentally. Have you ever walked into a grocery store only to forget why you were there? Suddenly your pace slows, your eyes wander, and your movements become uncertain. Now compare that with entering the same store to buy one specific item before rushing home. Your body moves differently because your mind has clarity. The same principle applies in professional life. Leaders often appear more confident not because they possess extraordinary physical abilities, but because they have greater clarity about their objectives. Direction creates confidence. Uncertainty creates hesitation. Notice how people who constantly seek approval often allow their movements to be controlled by everyone around them. They stop whenever someone speaks, change direction without thinking, or hesitate before entering conversations because they worry about being judged. While kindness and consideration are essential, constantly surrendering your own direction gradually weakens your presence. Effective leaders remain respectful without becoming directionless. Imagine a ship crossing the ocean. It adjusts for waves, wind, and changing weather, but it never forgets its destination. In the same way, leadership requires flexibility without losing purpose. Your walk quietly reflects whether you're steering your own course or drifting wherever circumstances push you. Another fascinating aspect of walking like a leader involves eye focus. Many people spend their lives looking down, at the ground, at their phones, or at imagined problems inside their minds. Of course, checking your surroundings is important, but consistently lowering your gaze subtly changes both perception and psychology. Looking forward naturally encourages better posture, deeper breathing, and greater awareness of your environment. It also signals engagement. Leaders notice opportunities because they are mentally and physically present. They observe people, environments, and changing situations instead of remaining trapped inside anxious thoughts. Simply lifting your eyes can change how both you and others experience your presence. This doesn't mean staring intensely at everyone you pass. Leadership is not intimidation. There is a quiet confidence in acknowledging people naturally. A simple smile, brief eye contact, or relaxed expression often communicates more strength than a dramatic attempt to appear powerful. Think about individuals you've respected throughout your life. Chances are they didn't constantly try to prove their importance. Their confidence felt effortless because it wasn't built on seeking attention. Real leadership rarely announces itself loudly. It reveals itself through consistency. There is another reason your walk matters that has nothing to do with appearances. It influences your own decisions. Imagine beginning every morning by leaving your home with rushed, distracted movements, shoulders tense, thoughts scattered, already expecting problems before the day begins. Compare that with stepping outside after taking one deep breath, standing upright, and reminding yourself that every challenge can be handled one decision at a time. The external difference may seem small, but internally the effect compounds day after day. Small habits repeated consistently become identity. Eventually, you no longer think, "I'm trying to walk confidently." Instead, confidence becomes your natural way of moving through the world. History repeatedly shows that remarkable leaders often possessed an unusual sense of presence long before they held significant authority. They entered rooms without demanding attention, yet attention naturally followed them. This wasn't because they mastered theatrical body language tricks. It was because their physical presence reflected internal discipline. They had learned to remain composed under pressure, clear during uncertainty, and purposeful despite obstacles. Their walk became a visible expression of invisible habits: patience, focus, resilience, and self-control. Those qualities cannot be faked for long because the body eventually reveals what the mind practices every day. Perhaps the most encouraging truth is that walking like a leader has very little to do with natural talent. It is not reserved for extroverts, athletes, or people born with extraordinary charisma. It is a skill developed through awareness. Every hallway becomes an opportunity to practice intention. Every parking lot becomes a chance to improve your posture. Every entrance into a meeting becomes a rehearsal for calm confidence. Leadership is rarely built in dramatic moments. It is quietly constructed through ordinary actions repeated with extraordinary consistency. And every meaningful journey toward becoming someone others trust, respect, and willingly follow begins with something as simple as taking the next step with purpose. The most remarkable part of this entire journey is that no one wakes up one morning and suddenly walks like a leader. It happens gradually, almost invisibly, through hundreds of ordinary moments that most people overlook. It happens when you choose to slow down instead of rushing without purpose. It happens when you lift your head instead of staring at the ground. It happens when you enter a room with calm confidence instead of waiting for permission to belong there. It happens when your body begins reflecting the discipline, clarity, and self-respect you are building inside your mind. Every purposeful step becomes another vote for the person you are becoming. And just like compound interest, those small votes accumulate over time until one day people describe you as confident, composed, and influential without realizing how many tiny habits created that impression. Always remember that leadership is not something you switch on when you receive a promotion, stand on a stage, or sit in the corner office. Leadership is a way of moving through the world. It is found in the employee who walks into work ready to solve problems instead of complaining about them. It is found in the student who walks into an exam room believing preparation matters more than fear. It is found in the parent who enters the home carrying calm instead of stress. It is found in the entrepreneur who keeps moving forward after setbacks while others choose to quit. The world is constantly watching for people who bring stability, direction, and hope during uncertainty. Long before they hear your ideas, they notice your presence. Long before they trust your decisions, they observe how you carry yourself. There will be days when confidence feels effortless, and there will be days when doubt quietly follows every step you take. That is part of being human. Even the greatest leaders experience uncertainty. The difference is that they refuse to let temporary emotions define permanent behavior. They continue walking with purpose even when they don't have every answer. They continue showing up even when progress feels slow. They continue choosing discipline over comfort, because they understand that confidence is built through action, not waiting. Courage is rarely the absence of fear. More often, it is the decision to keep moving despite it. From today onward, pay attention to the moments that once seemed too small to matter. Notice how you walk into meetings, through crowded streets, into your workplace, or even into your own home. Ask yourself a simple question every day: does my walk reflect the person I want to become? If the answer is no, don't judge yourself. Adjust. One step at a time. Because leadership is not about perfection. It is about conscious improvement. Every hallway becomes a place to practice presence. Every doorway becomes a reminder to stand taller. Every challenge becomes another opportunity to move with purpose instead of panic. Imagine where those small changes could lead over the next year. Imagine walking into an interview with quiet confidence instead of nervous hesitation. Imagine leading conversations with calm authority. Imagine becoming the person colleagues naturally trust, friends naturally seek for advice, and family members look to during difficult moments. None of those outcomes begin with a dramatic transformation. They begin with the next step you choose to take. The way you walk influences the way you think. The way you think influences the way you act. The way you act shapes your habits build your character, and your character ultimately determines your legacy. So as you leave this moment and step back into your daily life, remember that every journey toward extraordinary leadership begins exactly the same way. Not with applause. Not with recognition. Not with a title. It begins with one deliberate step, followed by another, and another, until purpose becomes natural and confidence becomes part of who you are. Walk with intention. Walk with humility. Walk with courage. Walk with integrity. And above all, walk like someone who already believes they have something valuable to contribute to the world. Because the people who leave the greatest mark on history are not always those who speak the loudest. They are those whose presence inspires others to walk a little taller simply because they crossed their path.